Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Not really sure how rare this one is. This is the Hyde. This is number 12 pot still cask, single pot still Irish whiskey. Now, this is the Special Reserve 1893 commemorative edition where the first president of Ireland, his name was Douglas Hyde, has no relationships directly to the Connor Hyde who owns this brand, but it's a good thing to name something after a president, right? We have we have Jefferson Oceans and so on, so it's nothing against that. And it commemorates the wedding in 1893 with the German-born Lucy Kurtz. So I've done reviews about, at least on my German channel, about Hyde whiskey from number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I have 12. For some reason I left out 10 and 11. They no longer appealed to me. Can I say that? One of them was even peated. And so maybe I'll have to redo that one day and see. Now this is whiskey base number 205092. This was, and I really do like this label here. I don't know if you can see this or not, if it'll focus great or not, is we have from the 1893 cask number 12 here. We actually know that they made 5,000 bottles, and I have bottle number 4,374, and it was bottled in January of 2022. So I'm still a little bit late here with some of my reviews, all right? This goes in Germany for a price around €39.90, 40 euros. What really surprised me is this also goes for 40 euros, €39.90. I found it for 36, 38, 39. Now, one of the biggest retailers at the moment online sell it for 42, but 40 euros. The normal green spot versus this. Now, this is single pot still Irish whiskey from Middleton, and this is single pot still whiskey from the county of Cork. I'm just going to assume that it is made at the West Cork distilleries. Clonakilty makes single pot still whiskey. They have not released anything themselves. Middleton makes single pot still whiskey. They don't usually sell it to third parties. There's not much left in County Cork except for West Cork that does this. Now, I think the first 6, maybe even the first 7 bottles that I had, the first bottlings of Hyde were from Cooley Distillery, and they switched over to West Cork. And so a 40 euro whiskey here. Now, what are the rules for a single pot still whiskey? It's very easy and fairly easy in Ireland. It has to be a minimum 30% malted barley, has to have a minimum of 30% unmalted barley, and a maximum at the moment of 5% then of other grains like oats. It could be rye, it could be wheat, it could be any type of oats, all right? So any type of grain. Now, for the last 4 years, the Irish Whiskey Association has been working together with the government in Dublin and the European government in Brussels to actually revise the Irish whiskey guidelines. So there's another word for the guidelines. Forgot. All right. So and so that we can actually have more, which would be historically accurate, more accurate of the other grains. For example, oats. Now, Blackwater has been doing non-conform pot still whiskeys now for more than 4 years. A lot of the other places have actually released whiskeys in the last year or so of non-conform pot still whiskey, which is just called Irish whiskey. And so as soon as the legislation gets through, they will be conform, and that's what we're looking and waiting for. But this was made on the old rules, the old regulations, so 30% max, 30% minimum of, as I said, it's very easy, 30% minimum of unmalted barley, malted barley, and maximum 5% other grains. This is the first time Hyde has actually done a single pot. So they've done a peated, they've done single grain, they've done blended Irish whiskey, but this is the first time they had a single pot still in their portfolio, which is kind of cool. So this, the green spot. Now there's a red spot, yellow spot, blue spot, gold spot, all these different spots here. Mitchell's and Son there in Dublin have been doing this now for, I'm going to say, a century or so. And so this is very, very nice that we get this at the moment for 40 euros. The spot. It's a little. They would paint the cask so they knew how old that whiskey should be. All right, on the nose. This is a little bit younger, but we have a darker, earthy moment. We have like a honey. We have a little bit of the barley. We have wood, and we have a tiny little bit of fresh cut grass. Now, interesting enough, there are tasting notes on here. I will try to read them here. It says, slightly spicy on the nose with some fruitiness followed by a honey oaked sweetness. I wasn't that far off. I named most of the factors that they had here. Here on the nose, I also have some tasting notes. For me, there's more barley sugar. There's more of a complexity and a little bit more vanilla with also a tad of honey. So it says here, fresh aromatic oils and spices with orchard fruits and barley on the background of toasted wood. So let's try them. 46% here, 40% here, non-chilled filtered, probably chill filtered, natural color, Mitsuko color, with added caramel here. This is triple distilled. This is triple distilled. Hey, cheers. This is Bourbon Sherry Cask matured. I can't say that the sherry casks pop out. It's not a sherry bomb. Way from it. It does have a very, very creamy, almost silky, smooth. Smooth is not the word I want to use. A creamy, almost a silky coating. Velvety. Let's use that word here. Velvety coating. A lot of honey, a lot of barley, a little bit of I'm going to go back to the same word, earthiness to this. Now imagine you're making a whole grain bread. Have you ever made that and it's a little gooey and sticky and you have the dough and you put your finger in there and you try it? That's what that tastes like. It tastes like whole grain bread dough. Not cookie dough, not chocolate chip cookie dough, no. Whole grain bread dough with no sugar in there. That's what I'm getting here. This is not bad, but it's still not something I would gravitate towards. It's not something I would go for. I've had much worse young pot still whiskeys from Ireland. I remember Teeling used Germany as a testing area, and they did batch 1, 2, and 3 here with their pot still whiskeys, and I tried all 3, and then the 4th was the one they released in the U.S. that was perfected, better, older, and so on. Pot still whiskeys need more time in the casks. I've had 3-year-old ryes that have been just fantastic. I've had 4 to 5-year-old 4 to 5-year-old bourbons, beautiful. I've had 6-year-old single malts from bourbon casks that have just been absolutely wonderful. It's difficult to get a young 3, 6, 7-year-old single pot still out there on the market and go, wow, that's good. There might be a reason Redbreast is 12 years of age. And there might be a reason I really enjoy the 15 and the 21 even more. Single pot still with its unmalted barley really, really needs a little bit more time. And I would love to know the chemical process that happens in the cask and why the rye doesn't need half as long as other things. What's the chemistry there? That would be interesting to know. If you have a link to a good site that would explain that to me, put it in the description. I read all the comments. I reply to all the comments here. This is a good, solid C. On a bad day, it could be a C- with its earthiness. On a good day, it could actually be a C+, because it does have a lot of creaminess. It does have a lot of the honey going on in there. It's good, not great. Now, 40 euros is not a bad price. So I'm going to also give it a C to C-. All right, so that's my second question of the day. First question is, what happens in the cask? What makes the difference between the aging process of rye, bourbon, single malt, and single pot still? But my second question is, if you had 40 euros, 40 pounds, $40, whatever, what would you buy? just use this as your reference. All right, what is the price? Could be a little bit bad. I know in California, I think the green spot goes like $70, $80 sometimes. So, what would be let's go to $50. All right, $50, 40 euros, 40 pounds. What would be the whiskey you would buy? And over here in Germany at the moment, I can still get the Bushmills 10-year-old 1 liter for $39.90. That stuff is amazingly good, all right? So limited release, 46% sherry bomb. I adore that whiskey. What would you get? What would be your bottle of choice? Would it be the Green Spot? Let's try this as a comparison. I'll come back to that in a second. I may have forgotten to mention that this is matured in sherry and bourbon casks. The 40% that this has compared to the 46% that this has makes this a tiny little bit watery, tiny bit thinner. But what I love with single pot still Irish whiskey often is the after kick. It's almost like there's a freight train, or you hear it and it comes. That's a bad example. Like a car, and there's a creaminess that just appears in the back end of the finish. That is very, very nice. So on the taste, we should have full spicy body, a hint of clove along with the fruity sweetness of green apples, round off with toasted oak and a lingering flavors of spice and barley. Nice. Over here, I'll read and then I'll try. All right, so we have here the taste is creamy, yet spicy with ginger. Yep. Cinnamon. Yep. Nutmeg. Meh. Cumulating. Wow. In a vanilla honey finish. The finish is a long, creamy biscuit finish originating from the original barley and oat mash bill. Oh, they used oats. Why don't you put the mash bill on here? Oh, there's oats in here. All right, very, very good. It's young. If I were to take these two, this one. This is not something I'd refuse. It's not something I would just let stand there. I would not dump it out. This is not something I would gravitate to yet. I do expect this to be, if this is an 8, maybe even a 10-year-old whiskey one day, that's going to be pretty good. All right, if that's West Cork, they're doing interesting things with their single pot still. I like that. That's very, very nice. So I would buy this over that, and I'd buy that, the Bushmills travel retail 1 liter here. Sherry, what was it called here? Sherry cask finish for 10 euros. I'd buy that instead. So thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing. What is your favorite Hyde product? What is your favorite Spot product? What is your favorite Irish whiskey you'd buy for 40 euros, 40 pounds, or $50? Please write it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.